Reddit has been a reliable community base for people from all over the world to connect through various topics of shared interest. Filled with comedy, intelligent conversation, and senseless banter, it is a space where users feel open to share their experiences. Despite the masses of outwardly interesting, uplifting content, it holds an equal, if not more concentrated library of spine-chilling stories. Today, we will be exploring the top 10 most disturbing threads on Reddit. Number 10. Does this mean the FBI is after us? After going to the mechanic, a concerned Reddit user made this post on behalf of his friend. He stated his assumption that the FBI was tracking his friend, as he had been contacted by them after the death of his father, a Muslim religious leader. He was trying to determine whether the device was a tracker or a bomb. Another Reddit user replied, explaining that the strange object attached to his car is a tracking device, that sale is restricted only to those in the army or law enforcement. The thread ends there. Does the government truly have the power to track anyone? Number 9. The Whistler. At the tender age of 8, this Reddit user recalls going for a walk with his mother and their family dog at night near their home in Michigan, an area defined by its swampy forest surroundings. He said, "From down in the swamp, we heard somebody whistling at us. It sounded sort of like a bird, but each whistle was different enough where the lack of consistency made it human-like. The whistle sounded higher, then lower." He remembers his mother looking terrified, grabbing his arm and saying that they should go home. 2 years later, he was taking his dog out again late at night. As he was finishing the walk, approaching the house, the whistling noise began. Same pitches, same inconsistent, human-like tones. He recalled the previous event and a chill rushed down his spine as he rushed into the house. Years went by, and the events began to fade in his memory. Fast forward several years. It's summertime. The Redditor is now 24 years old. He and his girlfriend were in South Dakota, watching fireworks from the shore of the Missouri River. His girlfriend went back to the car to get more beer, and he saw a figure on a boat in the water. Then, he heard it. The whistle. He was able to record it for us to hear in this chilling video. We can't help but wonder who or what it was. Number 8. The Bridge. A group of friends from Northern Wales, United Kingdom, who frequently explored abandoned buildings, discovered a manhole under a bridge and decided to take a closer look. They descended a ladder into the structure. Once they reached the bottom, they made their way through the narrow passageways, crawling on their stomachs to reach the main area. As they got to the first end, the Redditor states, "I have never felt the same sense of dread before or since." In front of them was a single fold-away chair, positioned facing a wall. On the wall, an image from a magazine of a woman. The eyes had been removed with precision. Explicit photos of women with their eyes cut out and cigarette burns on the bodies littered the space, along with other grotesque sexually themed trinkets. Bags of human waste being stored by whoever was staying in this uninhabitable cavern under the bridge. A sense of panic filled the group of explorers, and they quickly made their exit. They wondered what disturbed individual could have been calling this place home. How could someone from their small town lose grip on sanity without anyone noticing? What evil could be hiding under the bridge? Number 7. Quantum Immortality. A seemingly normal Reddit user who posted funny, interesting content began to lose his grip. He began posting incessantly about quantum immortality, a philosophical concept in which someone survived quantum suicide, in turn becoming immortal. Other Redditors took note of how worrisome his posts were becoming. and tried to convince him out of going through with the plan to escape quantum immortality. His posts suddenly ended. Many people speculate that he went through with his plan and wonder if he was correct. Number 6. Postit Notes. 5 years ago, this Reddit user posted seeking guidance regarding an eerie situation. On April 15th, he found a Post-it note in handwriting that wasn't his, detailing errands he had to run, which he had not expressed to anyone else. He wrote it off as something he may have done while half asleep, which would explain the odd handwriting. On the 19th, he discovered another Post-it note on the back of his computer chair, telling him to make sure he saved his documents. There were no signs of a break-in, but he began to freak out. He set up a webcam with a security app aimed at his desk in an attempt to understand what was going on. 9 days later, he discovered another Post-it note saying, "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." He immediately checked the webcam folder on his computer and found nothing from the previous night. On May 1st, the day he made this post, he found several Post-it notes throughout his apartment, all blank in various colors. He asked the Reddit community if he had any legal recourse, or if he should contact his landlord. Some users pointed out that he may be going through a dissociative period. Another suggested that he test the apartment for carbon monoxide. As it turns out, there was a leak of carbon monoxide in his apartment, slowly poisoning him and causing him to forget writing the notes. Had this user not taken to Reddit for answers, he could have very well died from the carbon monoxide poisoning. Number 5. Sleep as Android app. This woman took to Reddit hoping to have her fears debunked. She had been using the Sleep as Android app for some time now, which records while you sleep and helps to track your sleeping patterns. The following day, she went through the app to delete some of the old recordings. At 2:04 a.m., while sleeping in bed with her 3-year-old son, she caught something very strange. Throughout the recording, you can hear various clicks getting louder and louder. Then, she can clearly be heard saying, "What are you doing?" followed by a response from a deep voice which says nothing. The loud clicks continue after this. Then the deep voice says what she thinks is, "That's them." Other Reddit users have stated that the final comment sounds like, "I'm Danny," or "I'm dead." The Reddit community listened to the audio recording. One Redditor showed that her voice was roughly 265 hertz, and the answerer's voice seems to be around 95 hertz, which is relatively low for even a man. No clear explanation has been found, and the original poster has since moved out of the house where this took place. Number 4. My dead girlfriend keeps messaging me on Facebook. This post was made 6 years ago. The original poster had lost his girlfriend of 5 years in a fatal car accident. Her Facebook was kept active, and he and her mother shared access to it. He began receiving messages from his late girlfriend's account, followed by her tagging herself in photos. He asked her mom about it, and she hadn't had any part in logging into the account. He thought that someone may have hacked the account and was trying to mess with him, as sick as it was. A few months passed, and the activity continued. He noticed that his girlfriend began to recycle his own messages, essentially repeating things back to him. He had changed the password and security information countless times, and was able to rule out the possibility of a hacker pulling a sick prank. Some Reddit users have speculated that he may have been dissociating and messaging himself from her account, although there is no clear answer. Number 3. He pretended to be my dog. Posted on r/Let's Not Meet, this woman describes an extremely chilling tale. As background, her and her husband lived in a small 2-story house with their dog. If it was late at night, They would hook their dog's collar to a lawn lead outside the front door so he could use the bathroom. One night, after letting her dog out, she went about tidying up the house. As she was doing the dishes, she heard scratching at the door, signaling that the dog wanted to come back inside. She looked through the peephole in the door and saw a man staring intently at the door handle. She was in shock, frozen with her hand on the door. Then, another scratch. This jolted her out of her initial shock, and she immediately went to find her cell phone, then called her husband, who said he was on the way home. She went back to the front door, seeing the stranger still there in the same position. She then went to the door of her laundry room, opening it quietly, trying to see if she could see her dog anywhere. Returning to the front door, she then sees the man is standing there, looking directly at her, his mouth open, grinning at her maliciously. Then, he turns around and begins to walk down the street. Her husband arrived home a few minutes later, and they called the police, then proceeded to go look for their dog. They found that the line the dog had been attached to was cut, and he was exploring the neighbor's yard. The police never came up with any suspect. Number 2, wanted for murder, my side. 24-year-old Agar Hassan confessed to killing his girlfriend on Reddit, later being charged with second-degree murder for her death. He outlines intimate details about their tumultuous relationship in the post, which has since been taken down. He said that he went into a state of shock and didn't even process what had happened, that he acted in self-defense. He fled from Ontario to the United States, saying that he planned to turn himself in. After being arrested at a traffic stop, he was extradited from a Texas prison back to Ontario. There's no way to know the truth about what happened that day. Number 1, I used to live alone. 7 years ago, a young woman posted about how she had recently moved into a small apartment. She was relatively antisocial, worked from home, and kept to herself, so living alone was an opportunity to feel fully comfortable. Her landlord, Olivia, was a kind, older woman who would always bring leftover food for her, which she deeply appreciated. 2 months after moving in, she began to notice that things in her apartment were moving or disappearing. She convinced herself that it was just anxiety from the new medication she started, which also made her drowsy. Time passed, and she paid less mind to it, until her toothbrush, underwear, and even her food were being misplaced. She called her mom, explaining the situation, and asked her to stay at the apartment for a bit. She wrote, "That weekend, my dad went to my apartment, and what he found was a true horror. Written all over the walls, 'Come back, baby, please.' He ran out and called the police. The investigation revealed a man, Henry, the son of her landlord, was in a projected relationship with her. He admitted to going into her apartment every night with his mother's extra key. He claims that they were in love, and he had her permission. He drugged the leftover food his mother left, causing her to be drowsy and fall asleep, so he could come in and watch her sleep. The leftovers in her fridge were tested and confirmed. A man who she never knew was collecting her drain hair, clothing, and trash for about 4 months. What could have caused this strange obsession? That's all for our top 10 most disturbing Reddit threads. Comment below with your own unsettling stories. Tune in next week for another top 10 video from Mind Adventure.